Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm back with another video, and today I'm finally going to do my top 10 albums of the year, end of the year list, because, I don't really know of any albums coming out the rest of November or December that really piqued my interest or anything, so I just decided to go ahead and do this video and get it out of the way. So without further ado, let's get started. Some of these picks may surprise you, some of them may not surprise you. But I do have one honorable mention, just one, and it's surprising how far this actually fell out of my top 10 list. And that is a band from Germany called Surrender the Crown and their album The Never Ending Now. It was originally in my top 10, but it got knocked out by some other albums along the way. That may be the first surprise. But anyway, let's get into the countdown. At number 10, I have the band State Champs and their album Living Proof. Now, State Champs is a pop-punk band, and yes, I do like some pop-punk, depending on if it's done in a way that I like. And in my opinion, State Champs does that, especially on Living Proof, with songs like Crystal Ball, Lightning, and my personal favorite song off of the whole album, Our Time to Go. It's a really good emotional ballad type song, and that's one of the reasons why this album is not just number 10, but why it even cracked my list in the first place, just for that song alone. But overall, it's a really good pop-punk album, and definitely an album that I would recommend. Hey, number 9, now this may be a shock to people, but number 9 is actually the band Slaves and the album Beautiful Death. This came out way back in, I want to say February of this year, and originally this was going to be a top contender for my album of the year, but, with an album coming out in early February, you can't expect it to sustain that type of momentum, and that's what happened to this one. It's still a good album by a good band, but I kind of quit listening to it for a while. But I decided it deserved a spot on this list for songs like True Colors, I'd Rather See Your Star Explode, Deadly Conversations, I Know a Lot of Artists. There's a lot of pretty unique titles and songs on this album. Definitely, I wouldn't consider this pop punk per se, but I would consider it probably pop rock, because there's definitely some pop influences mixed in with it, and I think Johnny Craig, the lead singer, has an amazing voice on these songs. So yeah, that's my number 9. Number 8 is an album that just came out on Friday. And my number 8 is by All That Remains, and it's the album Victim of the New Disease. Now, a lot of people might be surprised that it's so low in my rankings, but this album's not bad at all. I actually really enjoyed this album. And even though I've never been the biggest fan of All That Remains, and that's not just, the albums that they put out recently. That's just, like, the only album I can honestly say I've heard every single song to was the album Overcome, and that came out like 10 years ago. So that should tell you something. But I decided to check this out, not just because it was going to be heavier than previous albums, but also because of the tragedy, that happened with Ollie Herbert passing away, which was definitely a shock to everybody. But Victim of the New Disease is a really good album. Really good album. My personal favorite would probably have to be Wasteland. I can't get enough of that song. It gives me, I don't want to say it gives me chills every time I listen to it, but that chorus just really enthralls me, I guess. But Phil Labante's vocals are on point, not just his clean vocals, but his screaming vocals. Everything is on point, especially the guitar work and just the overall instrumentation. Really good album. Definitely deserving of a spot. Okay, number 7, we have a band called Silent Planet. and their album When the End Began. Now, Silent Planet is a Christian metalcore band, and what I love about Silent Planet more than anything else, not just the awesome instrumentals and vocals, I love the lyricism. You talk about a band that can easily paint a picture in your mind of what you're listening to, Silent Planet is that band. And my God, they come up with lyrics that I couldn't even dream of coming up with. And for that reason alone, they deserve a spot on this list. And I encourage you, if you haven't listened to Silent Planet, I don't care if you're a Christian or not, these lyrics are some of the most creative lyrics I've ever heard. And I don't think I'm exaggerating that. I may have exaggerated in the past about some bands or whatever, but no, Silent Planet is the real deal as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah. I think Silent Planet and Zach D, if you end up watching this video, I'd like to give a shout out to Zach D. I would actually say that Silent Planet is on the same level, maybe not the same level, but pretty close to August Burns Red. I know you really like them, so I would put them close to that same level. But that's just me. You may see it a different way. But anyway, shout out to Zach D. Okay, number 6 is probably a little confusing for some people. And number 6 is the band Fit for a King and their album Dark Skies. Now, say what you want about metalcore or about Fit for a King and whatever, but I really enjoyed this album a lot. And the song that keeps me coming back to, or the songs that keep me coming back to this album definitely are Youth Division, Price of Agony, and my personal favorite, When Everything Means Nothing. I mean, that is an emotional song to me, and it holds kind of a personal attachment for me, and I like everything about it. I mean, I can understand why people would say it's generic, same old metalcore, but hey, I mean, everyone's got different tastes in music, right? We're all not going to like the same things. And this is really, I think, another reason why I like this particular album so much is because this is the first time I'm ever really listening to Fit for a King. I mean, I know they have, what 2 or 3 albums previous to this. So I think as far as an introduction goes, it's a really fantastic album. Definitely worth it just for When Everything Means Nothing, Price of Agony, and what was the other one? Youth Division. Those are my 3 personal favorites. Okay, now number 5, we have the band Beartooth with their album Disease. Now, what I love about this album is the message. The lead singer, Caleb Shomo, I think is I don't know how he pronounces his last name, but he did a very emotional speech at one of the Beartooth concerts that I saw on YouTube, and he explained that Disease was about embracing who you are. Like, he has this disease, this depression, but he lives with it because that's who he is. And I thought it was a very empowering message. And every single song on this album has something that everyone can relate to, whether it's, just regarding mental health in general. And, the melody on all of these songs are the same, like musically, and maybe even vocally. But there's just something about the messages and the way Caleb sings that just keep me coming back to this. My favorite song off this album would have to be the closing track, Clever. Yeah, the lyrics in that song kind of make me tear up a little bit, so I'm man enough to admit that. And anyway, number 4, we have the band Breaking Benjamin with their album Ember. Now, I actually was going to give this a lower score, believe it or not, or a lower ranking, not score, but it cracked my top 5 because I still find myself coming back to at least 4 or 5 songs off of this album. That being Feed the Wolf, Psycho, The Dark of You, Down, and Torn in Two. Everything else is kind of average or below average to me, but it's still pretty high up on this list. The rest of the, I think they could have done better, and I think the album could have been a lot longer than just 38 minutes. And I wish the songs were longer. There's nothing that really says, hey, this is the Diary of Jane of this album, or this is the Without You of this album. Like, there's no hard-hitting, excuse me, no hard-hitting songs on this album as far as I'm concerned. But it's still pretty good. Okay, number 3, we have another international band. The band is Our Mirage, and the album is called Lifeline. It's either Lifeline or Lifelines, I can't remember. But, wow, these guys, this is their debut album too. So for a debut album in 2018 to make it all the way to number 3 on my list, that's a big deal. And what I really like about this band is the emotion that the lead singer puts into his songs. Like when he sings and even kind of screams a little bit, you can feel it. And especially on songs like December and Reviver, well, just to name a few. Listen to those songs and you can hear the emotion in his voice as he's singing. It's a fantastic debut album, and I hope to see more stuff from these guys in the future. Okay, number 2 is a pop-punk band, and it's As It Is with their album The Great Depression. Now, this album is still a 10 out of 10 for me. And the reason it's a 10 out of 10, it goes back to the lyrics. Now, I know a lot of people don't really pay attention to lyrics, like they more focus on the melody and how the song sounds. And I get that, you know, I'm the same way, but for me, I focus on the lyrics more than anything else. And not only does the music fit this style, but the undertone of what these songs are about. It's about mental health and about people who are depressed, and it's an incredible album. I think everyone would find something valuable from this album if they just take the time to, overlook that it's a pop-punk band from England. Overlook all that. You can. Everyone that's been depressed can relate to these songs. That's all I'm trying to say. It's a great album. And now, finally, my number 1, my top album of 2018. This should come as no surprise to anybody. It is the band Ice Nine Kills with their latest album, The Silver Scream. Now, need I say more about this album? There's only one song that I don't like, and it's the song Savages. For a song that's based off of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I just expected more. It just feels out of place. But that notwithstanding, every other song on this album is a gem. From The American Nightmare to Stabbing in the Dark to The Jig Is Up to, Rocking the Boat. And the fact that it's a horror movie themed album, that's what makes it for me. Spencer Charnas does an amazing job. And this band has been described as horrorcore and theatricore, which I didn't even think was a possibility. But hey, they definitely make it work. Great album, definitely. Well, there you go, guys. Those are my top 10 albums of 2018. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do you agree with my picks? Do you disagree? Tell me what your favorites are down in the comments. Subscribe to my channel. And as always, guys, I will see you next time. Take care.